What's up y'all? In this video, I'll go over how to sync the Dirtywave M8 with devices that can only be synced with a sync signal, like the Teenage Engineering Pocket Operator series. The M8 doesn't have the ability to send a sync signal through a dedicated port, but you can use the onboard synthesis engine to create a sync sound, which you can then output to devices like the Pocket Operator. It's not that hard to do, so let's check it out. To demonstrate this, I'll sync the M8 to this Pocket Operator, the PO33. It's important to note that this sync method will only work if the M8 is sending the sync signal, since there's no sync in port or playback method that relies on the M8 receiving a sync signal. Let's start by going over the audio connections and configuring the Pocket Operator. The Pocket Operator receives its sync signal through the line in port, so I'll have the main out of the M8 going to the line in on the Pocket Operator, and then the Pocket Operator's line out is going to my audio interface. Next, put the Pocket Operator into the SY4 sync mode by holding down the record button and pressing the BPM button until you see the SY4 text. This mode will make it so that the Pocket Operator will be listening for a sync signal on the left channel and will pass mono audio from the right channel through to both the left and right channels in the output. So to create the sync sound on the M8, we need something that can output a loud signal, and then that signal needs to be gated with an envelope so it drops off quickly before playing again. The WaveSynth is a good tool for this since the 8-bit oscillator shapes sound pretty loud without much manipulation, and I'll keep this on pulse 12%. Now I'll create a phrase and add notes to every other step. You can do this quickly by using the quick fill shortcut. On step 0 of the end column, hold Shift, then press Option twice to highlight the entire column, then hold Option and press Left twice. Since the sync signal needs to be loud, I'll increase the velocity of these notes using a similar method, highlighting the V column, then holding Edit and pressing up until the volume is maxed out at 7F. The next thing we need to do is add an envelope. Back on the instrument page, hold Shift and press up to get to the mod page. And from here, change the destination to volume, set the hold to 1, and bring the decay all the way down to 0. Let's hear how that sounds. You can audition the instrument by holding Edit and pressing play. So we've definitely got that fast, gated sound. The last step is to transpose the notes in the sync phrase so they're all higher pitched. I found that C6 is pretty good for this. And to test whether this is working, I'll press play on the Pocket Operator. Now it's listening for the sync signal, so I'll press play on the M8, and the sequencer will move at the same rate on both devices. Although you probably don't want to listen to this nasty sync signal while making music with the devices paired. So the last thing to do is adjust the pan of the sync instrument on the M8 to 00, so it's just on the left channel. And now we've got them synced without needing to hear the sync sound. One key limitation to note is that the Pocket Operator will only output sounds on the right channel, and if you send other sounds through to the left channel, it may interrupt the sync signal. So from this point, you have to pan all sounds you want to pass through to the Pocket Operator all the way to the right by setting the pan parameter to FF. And it's quite easy to sample sounds into the Pocket Operator with this setup, since the line out of the M8 is already going into the line in on the Pocket Operator. Once you've got your patterns arranged on the Pocket Operator, you can capture the project by recording the output of the Pocket Operator back into the M8, which is easy to do with the external render option. First, make sure the chain with the sync sound has as many phrases as you have patterns chained. So for this example, I'll make the chain 8 phrases long. Then plug the line out of the pocket operator into the line in of the M8. And highlight the chain with the sync sound, then press edit twice to get to the render option. Press play on the pocket operator to arm the recording, and then select external USB. Once the render is finished, you have a recorded version of the pocket operator's audio that you can trigger as a sample. So that's how you can create a sync signal on the M8 and send it to devices that aren't able to receive clock signal over MIDI. And to recap the limitations, the first is that the M8 has to be the source of the clock because it can't receive a sync signal. The second is that you have to dedicate a track to sending the sync signal. And the third is that any sounds you use after you create the sync track have to be mono and panned either fully left or fully right. But despite that, there's some interesting possibilities and workflows that open up when you pair the M8 with devices that can only be synced with the sync signal. So I definitely recommend experimenting with it and seeing what sticks. Well, that does it for this video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.